Well, the time has come, without a doubt, for one of the main representatives of the trash manga, Masai Hakazona, the author of Giblet Island, Devil's Island, and That Pumpkin Night. Masaya is wonderful because his works always start off cool, and the author seems to naively believe every time that he can make a good story in the horror genre. But closer to the middle, either he gets tired, or something else happens, and he willy-nilly slides into the fiercest trash. And that's why I love this author. But before I move on to the retelling, I'll ask you to subscribe to my channel and like this video. Such activity not only helps my channel grow, but also makes Masai a little happier. I probably don't know. And also write in the comments if you would like to see more of this author's work. Well, I'm starting, so turn off your brain and have a nice viewing for everyone. The manga begins with a demonstration of world-famous criminals. The text tells us that again and again there are murderers in society who threaten our security. And these are not aliens from other worlds, serial killers, people like us, someone's sons or husbands. Then we see directly the main participant in our story, who will later be called M. And then, the author takes us to our main character Madoka. She and her friends look at the puppies in the pet store. Admiration with the dog led in the wrong direction, and Madoka begins to reflect that the animal's life is pathetic, limited by such a small space. Later, they left the store in the form of dissatisfied looks from the sellers. Walking along the Ikebukuro, the girlfriends try to tan the main character, but she continues philosophical thoughts. Suddenly one ran to the counter to buy something, and the second guy called. Looking at them, Madoka wonders when she will already have a boyfriend. And at this time, one party comes out of the alley from behind with a bag on its head and 2 machetes in its hands. She turns around at the creepy maniac with knives and sees that he approaches one couple from behind and for no reason at all, plunges a weapon into the man's head. His girlfriend screams as a machete immediately blows off half of her head. Just killing them wasn't enough, and the future M starts trampling on them with his foot. An unknown person just went out in broad daylight and killed 2 people. And yet, it seems he's not going to stop. The maniac goes to the others. People rush to run, and Madoka froze in fear, unable to move. The killer approaches her and passes by, attacking others. He wields a knife with extreme cruelty, killing everyone who comes to hand. Seeing this whole picture, Madoka still can't get her body to move. She can't figure out if it's all a nightmare or if it's really happening. Why is this man killing so many people? Suddenly M stopped and turned his head in the direction of the main character, and then headed in her direction. Others, apparently thinking that they have run away to a sufficient distance, including friends, by the way, are shouting for Madoka to get out of there. But the main character can't move from her place. Seeing the maniac's eyes, she understood. He understands that he can't run away from them. M comes closer and swings. Madoka is squinting, waiting for a blow, when the police pounce on the killer, pinning him to the ground. The officer asks the girl if she is all right, but instead of answering, she loses consciousness. The guy picks it up, being already diffused. Surujanam M looks in her direction. After a while, the friends sit with Madoka in the hospital, saying how much they worried about her. Their conversation is interrupted by the same policeman, asking to let me know if anything is needed. Going out into the corridor, the officer rejoices that everything is fine with the girls, but at the same time asks one question: why? Killing everyone indiscriminately, the suspect decided to spare one of them. Further, according to the news report, it appears that captured the suspect managed to kill 10 people. Right now he's being interrogated at the station, but the killer remains silent. Madoka also hears this news when she suddenly turns around and sees M. in the corridor. The girl is scared, not understanding how this is possible. He was captured and is currently being interrogated. M goes towards the heroine. She turns around, about to run, as she bumps into the nurse. Turning in the direction of the pursuer, the girl realizes that he is no longer here. Now, in the interrogation room, the street maniac stared dreamily at the ceiling. Watching him through the one-way glass, the police discuss him. So far, they haven't been able to find out anything. The maniac doesn't say anything. To identify the impossible, because under the mask of his face disfigured. Who the hell is this guy? We're going back to Madoka. The parents took the girl from the hospital. Sitting in the car, she looks at a business card with the name Honda Yasuaki written on it. This is the policeman who saved her. The main character is considering whether to call him because of hallucinations, when suddenly Mom interrupts the mental flow. When they got the call, the parents were shocked. But now they did not say, she is glad that their daughter survived in such a meat grinder. Madoka herself is glad that everything is over, when suddenly she sees the same maniac in the building. Taking an unknown woman, he cut her throat, splashing on the glass, and dramatically throwing up his hands. The main character squeezed her eyes shut, mentally insisting that it was a vision. Already sitting at home, she went online, Googling her symptoms. There she finds common with ST, that is, post-traumatic stress disorder, and begins to think that she is going crazy. Suddenly, this hallucination is again nearby, materializing on the bed. The killer just stands there, still looking at the girl. Madoka drops a tear, continuing to think that this is a hallucination, and the maniac disappears. The girl is happy, but not for long, because a hallucination wouldn't be able to leave behind traces. After some time, she contacted Officer Honda. When she sits in his car, the officer notices that the girl doesn't look good. She called him early in the morning the next day because suddenly wanted to check something. Continuing to lead her to the right address, Honda himself thinks only about why the killer did not touch her. The officer drove her to the office building that Madoka had seen through the car window. The policeman does not really understand why he is here, but suddenly changes his face, seeing the panic of the main character. Following her gaze, he sees a blood-splattered window. Seeing his reaction, the girl says that it was done by the same street killer. She saw it with her own eyes yesterday. The victim is a former real estate sales manager. Yesterday she came to check an empty office. If it hadn't been for Honda, who noticed the blood, it is quite possible that she would have remained lying there, not found for some time. It is reported by Senior. Honda asks, was it possible to establish the time of death and what weapon was used? So far it is difficult to determine. The victim was torn into small pieces. Only the head remained untouched. And they put a phone in my mouth. When the police went inside, the mobile phone immediately rang. The next thing he says to Honda is off the record. But the killer deliberately scattered evidence all over the room. There is an assumption that when he finished with the victim, he stripped down to the goal, rolled on the blood-soaked floor, and played with the insides. Honda reflects that this cannot be the first murder of this man. He's probably committed a crime before. Madoka is still sitting in the car. Looking at her, the young policeman thinks that it is impossible that the killer was the man in the bag, because he is still in prison. And the author takes us to M. The killer is sitting behind bars, looking at the wolf through the window. A little later, in a cafe, Honda suggests to Madoka that the murder in the office was probably committed by a copycat. Otherwise it can't be because a street killer is in prison. The main character does not believe, insisting that this is the same person. She asks Honda to believe her. The officer says what she wants to hear. I believe you. It's his doing. But we have no idea how he turned it around. The police station again attempted to interrogate. The detective threatens the maniac with the death penalty, but the second one remains silent. His silent gaze frightens the policeman, and he is speechless. Suddenly, the phone rang in the interrogation room. The assistant detective answered the phone. Turning pale and getting up from the table, he quickly approached the interrogator and whispered something in his ear. What the hell? The detective shouted. You're kidding. Outside, together with Honda, they discuss a recent murder in the office. The detective has already found out that there is a connection between these murders. The last woman killed is a witness who saw the first attack on Ikebukuro Street. The detective recalls that Honda was engaged in one of the girls who also survived this incident and asks if he found out anything. It may just be a coincidence, the young policeman began. But I got a call that the criminal was seen in the neighborhood. I came across the crime scene by accident. It's all one big coincidence. In the middle of this monologue, Honda realized that if he said it as it is, his colleagues might question Madoka's mental health. And indeed himself. The killer is still in the isolation ward. So the truth now nobody would believe. No one told him anything, but no one believed in his sincerity. Honda is clearly hiding something. The chief thinks it's a strange case. It is impossible to identify the person. The motives are not clear. The killer remains silent. And even death threats do not frighten him. Feeling that he was tired, the man went to wash. In the bathroom mirror, he notices a figure, turns in front of him in the form of M. Somehow, once outside, armed with a telescopic baton, the street killer began to beat the police chief. On the same day, late in the evening, Madoka's house got a call. This is an unknown person who claims that she works in a psychiatric hospital. The woman came to offer the heroin treatment. Meanwhile, in the police toilet, and beat the chief to a pulp and sat down to admire his work. Then suddenly there are footsteps, someone goes to the toilet. When another policeman comes inside, the maniac is no longer there. The chief is lying on the floor in a pool of his own blood. The therapist was let into the apartment. She offers group therapy, in which people discuss similar symptoms. The mother does not believe that her daughter needs it, because Madoka did not share her experiences with her family. Then the doctor says that her friends have already undergone this therapy. Actually, in this group, all those who saw the attacks back then. They all have similar symptoms. They see M everywhere. At the station at this time, Honda is watching how soon the chief is hospitalized. The police are gossiping behind their backs. They say, how could this even happen at the station? There's blood all over the floor. The street killer is still in the isolation ward, so did someone break into them? Officer Honda is sure that M himself is behind everything. Suddenly his phone rang. This is Madoka. He went out into the stairwell and picked up the phone. There the girl told that she was offered to attend group therapy. She is in doubt again after she found out that everyone in this group is seeing a killer. A maniac can't be in two places at the same time. So maybe she's going crazy after all. Even now, sitting in the room, she sees him right in front of her. Honda is surprised to hear about this, but right now, he needs to think about himself. The street killer appeared behind him, already swinging a telescopic baton. The call was interrupted. M disappeared in the main character's room. Honda managed to avoid a direct hit by blocking the baton with his smartphone. Then, with the words "Don't underestimate me," he grabs the maniac's hand and throws him over his hip. The maniac's kiss with concrete, but suddenly disappears. He just disappeared into thin air. But it can't be an illusion. The phone is broken actually, and telescopic baton after it has left here. The maniac, sitting in his isolation ward, takes his hand, which remembers the touch of a policeman. Through the bars, he could hear the other officers of the law known that the weapon with which they attacked the boss found somewhere on the landing. Since the baton is a police one, someone has a question whether one of our people could have attacked. The information was immediately leaked to the media. Madoka hears on the radio about the attack on the police chief. She's worried about Honda because she can't contact him. Meanwhile, their family drove up to the clinic. They are met by a doctor who came the day before, who takes the main character to the group. As they ride in the elevator, Madoka thinks she is sure that the M in front of her was not a hallucination. The door opens, and they are greeted by a thin man in overalls, and with a maniac bag on his head. Out of surprise, the main character screams, and the doctor shouts at the patient who has put on this bag. Seeing Madoka, the girl happily runs to meet her. Then, the whole group spills out into the corridor. The main character is something like a legend who met M face to face and survived the attack when the others were watching from a safer distance. A little later, in the chief doctor's office, the mentioned people say that all these people are experiencing anxiety, confusion, and they are visited by hallucinations and flashbacks. But despite this, the clinic promises that it will help everyone to heal. Therapy has begun. The first girl put a bag on her head and stood in front of a guy named Yuta. The rest from the side are encouraging the person to hold on. He holds on for a while, but then asks to stop. Let him know that M is not real, but he's still scared. However, the therapist is still happy. After all, this time he lasted longer. Another patient comes out from the back of the main granny, calling what is happening a farce. Instead of just trying to work out a resistance before the bag, everyone should also accept one more fact. The killer really exists. In parallel with this scene, we see another one. Honda called his friend to the bar. There they are drinking beer, and suddenly the policeman asks if he has any thoughts about M. After all, his friend is a writer, and has dealt with a lot of absurd stories. Perhaps it will occur to him how all this can be explained. The writer has one guess bilocation. Instead of explanations, we are transferred to a psychiatric hospital. There, an unknown patient continues to bend his line. A maniac is not a hallucination, and this therapy is useless. Seeing his face and the faces of everyone else, Madoka notices that everyone here understands everything perfectly. The only question is why they don't do anything. Are you done, Hikaru? The doctor asks him as he leaves. Go ahead. The police caught him, and now he is in custody. The one the others see is a hallucination, neither more nor less. The guy worries everyone with his behavior, so he is asked to be silent. He is angry, saying that he is getting out of here, but they are not going to let him go. If he doesn't stop, he won't get his pills, and without them, he will see even more hallucinations. The door opens, and the orderlies come inside, who take Hikaru away. Watching this picture, Madoka realizes that even if you know something here, you will just be shut up. If this fact continues, everyone here will be killed afterwards. In the evening, having opened a fan site for M fans on the internet, Madoka hears a phone call. It's Honda calling from the bar. While his friend is sleeping on the counter, he decided to tell what he found out. M is actually in prison, but at the same time continues to appear on the outside. This is because it has the ability to appear in multiple places at the same time. This is called bilocation. The phenomenon when one person is seen by different people in different places. He doesn't know for sure if the second one is a clone, alter ego, or something else, but he is sure that they should kill him. There is no choice, kill or be killed. Madoka needs to be ready for it. To match his statement, it appears from behind. A maniac. Seeing him swing a baseball bat, Madoka rushes to the scissors. The killer attacks by hitting the girl's leg. M is about to hit her on the head next, as the victim sticks a pair of scissors into his leg. Though he may be in different places at the same time, but Street Killer is still human. And therefore, it hurts him from this blow. Releasing the bat, he crouched down, clutching his leg. Seeing his reaction, Madoka holds up the scissors. Meanwhile, the maniac has already fallen on his side. The girl has the heart to hit, but M safely disappears. Parents run to the noise, who find their daughter holding a plug into the carpet with scissors. They see that the leg is injured after being hit with a baseball bat and ask what happened. But instead of answering, the main character faints. At the same time, in his cell, M examines the hole punched with scissors in his leg. He remembers her face and the mask of madness that flashed on her before the blow. This begins to amuse the Street Killer. After a while, Madoka came back to therapy. There's Yuta in the circle again, who says that he wants his heart to be made of steel, but at the same time, it was capable of tenderness. The group cheers the guy on. Watching the fun from the side, Madoka comes to the conclusion that she does not understand those present. They should be scared, but they're having fun anyway. Hikaru, the guy who thinks that the others should accept the existence of M, notices an injury on the girl's leg. He immediately guesses that the main character fought with a maniac. Enthusiastically, he asks her to tell in detail how she defended herself. Hikaru's behavior is noticed by the others. The therapist is trying to calm everyone down and is already going to call the orderlies again. How suddenly all the other members of the group blocked the road. Everyone wants to know how Madoka fought with them, but the main character is afraid to tell, believing that if she does this, a Street Killer will finish them off. Except he's already here. Materializing, he attacks. Everyone was alarmed. The doctor turns around, not believing his eyes. The group ran to the door, but it wouldn't open. On the other hand, there was another maniac who blocked the door. Joyfully throwing up his hands, the killer attacked. In one machete, he horizontally plunged the therapist's head into the eye area, and with the second, he separated the head from the shoulders so that it remained hanging on the gun. Holding his head in the air, he peers while the others wait for their fate. Madoka realizes that now everything is as it was back in Ikebukuro, when he killed others, ignoring her. Turning around, the maniac carries the head, which is still held on the machete, to the others, and passes by the main character again, heading towards Hikaru. He hands the guy a machete with his head, and he accepts the weapon with fear on his face. The door opens, the orderlies appear. M is no longer in the room, but everyone sees Hikaru with a doctor's head on a machete. Neither he nor a dozen witnesses believed him. The police arrested the guy. In the evening, sitting in her room, Madoka still cannot understand why she is still alive. Suddenly the phone rings, and the heroine runs to the hospital again. From the moment in the bar until now, Honda was unconscious after the attack of M. The maniac appeared from behind, first attacking the writer's friend, splitting his skull, and then crushing what remained with a series of blows. A panic began. A Street Killer attacked a policeman, who dodged the blow, and then rushed at the maniac. At the moment when he was supposed to throw the M on the floor, the second one disappeared again. And the Honda itself flew headfirst into the table. Everything would have been fine, but then a bottle flew into his scoreboard, and he remained lying there. The rest of the bar patrons started backing away from the killer, but then another one appeared from behind. So these two killed everyone there. It happened at the moment when one attacked Madoka herself downed. Hence, the police conclude that with the help of Bilocation, he can be in 3 places at the same time. And finally it came to Honda. M is not a man, he is a demon. The killings in Ikebukuro were part of the plan. The maniac wanted to be caught and put in jail so that he could continue attacking others from a relatively safe space. To Madoka's question, why does he need all this? Honda answers, in order to exterminate humanity day after day. The next chapter begins after some time. Madoka rides the bus with her friends from the first chapter. The main character notices that even though they too saw a street murderer, but still act like nothing happened. The girls say goodbye, promising to meet tomorrow. On the way alone, the main character reflects that if Honda is right about the maniac's goal, that is, to exterminate all of humanity, then this will not end until he himself dies. And that may not happen soon. She has to survive until there's a chance to finish him off. Her name. A girl from the group appears from behind, who, at the first appearance, put on a maniac's bag. Now we know her name is Noriko. Sitting in a diner, Junior admits that every day looking for the main character. All because she had something to give her a letter. After completing the mission to deliver the message, Noriko leaves. This is a letter from Utah, a member of the therapy group. With the death of the doctor, the group was disbanded, so now the others have formed their own to resist M. He wants Madoka to join them and help defeat the killer. You also need to respond in a letter. Any digital method of transmitting information is not accepted. Because accounts can be hacked, Madoka realizes that she needs to stop the killer, but because the writing of the response, which reports that come together dangerous, and they should not contact each other or try to contact with street killer. Suddenly, she receives some messages from those two of her friends at once. One by one, the girl sees a selfie with a maniac against the background of dead girlfriends. And the doc screams right at the whole restaurant. Then we are shown several pages of how M himself carefully took those selfies. Walking down the street, the main character is unable to hold back tears. The maniac continued to match new photos. The girl is heading towards the police officers on duty. I don't care what they think, but she has to show them these photos. Suddenly M appears behind one of them, cutting his head in two. The gaze immediately stared at Madoka, and the girl realizes that she can't tell anyone anything about him. The second policeman, pulling himself up, notices that it's time to go on patrol. He turns around in the form of his partner's body. Madoka thinks she was stupid, deciding to go to the police. She has no way out, she will have to act on her own. She won't run away anymore. It's time to meet him face to face. The street killer, being in some spacious room, moves away from the bodies of Madoka's friends, enters the workshop, where there is a lot of weapons and tools, after which he begins to smile. The main character, sitting on a bench, opens the photos on her phone again and sees the location where the pictures were taken. The city of Mitaka. That's where she'll start. While she is walking in an unknown direction, we see that the girl is being followed. The unknown person follows the legend first down the street, then gets on the train with her. Like all other photographers, one question interests them. Why did M spare only her of all? In fact, he is a journalist and has noticed for a long time that something is wrong here. He had been following the case from the very beginning and was fascinated by the picture in which the survivor appeared. Since then, he began to kill her from time to time in the hope of understanding the situation. During the persecution, her expression made his heart ache, and he was constantly tormented by the question of what she was so afraid of. And now the girl is tense, immersed in her thoughts. The photographer's gut tells him that something will definitely happen today. The main character walks the streets of Mitaka in circles, clearly looking for something. Suddenly her expression changes, and she stops at an abandoned old factory. He's here, Madoka says out loud. M inside. Suddenly, it began to rain heavily to match the atmosphere. Madoka thinks about how I found him. The photographer is watching. He heard her say M. Seeing that the girl took out her phone and was looking at something, the stalker decides to pass by and peek. In the photos, he sees a selfie with a dismembered woman. The photographer pretends to pass by, but turning around, notices that the girl has already climbed into the territory of the maniac. Once on the other side, Madoka immediately laid out everything in front of her that could be used as a weapon. She tries to convince herself that her heart is ice, and she can't let M distract her in any way. The main character should not feel anything. It is necessary to empty the heart and mind. The girl mentally saying goodbye to all the family. She's going to end it right here and right now. Madoka enters the territory of an abandoned factory, realizing that she does not feel fear at all. She had been afraid of him for too long. However, the street killer has something to surprise her with. Already in the next frames, she enters a pool of blood and then sees her friends. More precisely, what M did to them. From the sight of unimaginably desecrated bodies, the girl screams. The maniac appears behind her and swings his weapon. We are transferred to the photographer. He also found himself on the territory of the plant. He climbed the nearest tree, and she couldn't stand his weight. Anticipating that it is necessary to go on a diet, the guy gets up and then pays attention to the entourage. Dozens of animal heads impaled on spikes around the perimeter. He gets scared, remembering that this place is still M's house. And we're back to Madoka. The girl dodged the blow. The blade only grazed the skin on his nose a little. Once on the floor, she is already trying to avoid Medic's leg. Dodging again, the main character counterattacks, plunging a Lidorub into the maniac's leg. The latter dropped the machete in pain and tried to free his leg, but Madoka's weapon stuck tightly. Taking out a knife, the heroine says that it's not so easy to pull out a Lidorub. Raised to the floor. You won't be able to use Bilocation like this. I will never forgive you, Madoka says. You didn't just kill those two girls, you mutilated them. She rushes with a knife at the street killer, but he survives by stopping the blade with his right hand. With his left, M grabbed Madoka's head and then hit her on the floor. Then, while she was still in the same position, he also kicked her on the head. While the girl is lying, he decides to take up an ice axe. Taking a knife, he cuts out his blade in the area around the wound and pulls the leg. Razvoju the foot in the region are still sticking out of the floor of the ice pick to my toes. Madoka, on the other hand, is trying to find the strength to rise. The maniac himself sat down, clutching his badly injured leg. Trying to cope with the pain, he takes a knife and swings. But then, the main character does not turn around and silences him with pepper spray, sarcastically commenting that this is a very effective thing. Relatively recently, she tested this thing on herself. And I haven't seen anything all day. Madoka has the initiative. She picks up a knife and prepares to strike. But it turns out to be more difficult to finish off a person than in theory. Guys, M finally spoke up. If you can kill me, I'll be only too happy. He says he has been waiting for this for a long time and has also been looking for someone like Madoka for a long time. The girl falls to her knees. At the same time, the photographer is hanging around M's house, photographing all the tin. He hit the jackpot. This place is a godsend. Continuing the way, the guy finds a large library with books on religion, philosophy, and psychology. The maniac himself continues to say, his life is a daily struggle with his desires and an irresistible thirst to kill. He feels unbearable loneliness, which is getting stronger day by day. He read many books and prayed to find out what he was, but he never got an answer. M pulled out all his teeth and burned his face, thereby erasing the past. Either he will grind humanity to powder, or they will erase it. But suddenly Madoka appeared in his life. In another part of the building, the photographer still won't calm down and won't call the police. In a dark corner, he notices a shadow. It's a mummy on a rocking chair with a framed photo on her lap. And then he finally decides to call. M, remembering the woman in the photo, says, "You smell the same." Ironically, he met the main character on the very day when he decided to declare war on the world. That's why he couldn't kill this girl. At first, he talked a lot, but he could not finish what he had started. And then he started dreaming. M wants Madoka to kill him and end his loneliness. So he asks again, "End my life, friend." "Wait, I'm your friend." Madoka asked, "You and I are nothing alike." M asks the main character not to deceive herself. He saw the pleasure on her face at the moment when the girl tried to hit him with scissors. It was bliss. Then he realized that he had finally found someone like himself. "We're the same," he says. "Like me, you will turn into a murderer." The police arrived at the abandoned factory. The street killer immediately disappeared. Running away from the scene of the crime, Madoka remembers the last words, convincing in her mind that everything is wrong. They are not the same. The police uncoupled the room and got to work. Immediately, the report began, which Madoka watches in her room, wrapped in a blanket. Media reports suggest that the maniac has an accomplice. Remembering his words, the girl tries to convince herself that they are not at all similar. This report is also watched by Utah, Noriko, and Honda. The photographer himself, who called the police, is already preparing his material, taking into account everything collected at the crime scene. He is not going to rush, he wants to delve deeper into everything. Looking at the photo, the paparazzi think that the woman may be his mother, whom the maniac also killed. M himself is still sitting in the isolation ward, having received medical care. The policeman guarding him discusses that they have found the former hideout of a street killer. Moreover, one draws attention to the fact that the prisoner has a new wound on his leg. It seems to be a common thing. This happens all the time in isolation wards, but the wound is unusual. The doctor who was treated said that his wound was as if someone had pierced it with something. M is locked. There was no one in the isolation ward. There is not a single object to be injured so much. So how the hell did this happen? Seeing Madoka's condition, the parents discuss what to do. This case with the killer clearly affected her, and in addition, her friends were recently killed. She stays in her room all the time, and she still has to go to school. The father says that soon they will finish the project at work, and he will be free. A brochure came in the mail with an invitation to a tourist hotel with hot springs. So it will be useful for the family to get out for a while. So it's decided. The family will soon go on a well-deserved vacation, away from all this. So the time came, and the parents took Madoka to the hotel. Previously, so that the girl did not read all these news, her phone was taken away from her. The main geranium herself understands that distraction can also benefit. She, in general, is immediately distracted, seeing first Mount Fuji and then the Dinmans. The family begins to have fun. They eat ice cream and barbecue. And this is where they will spend their next few days, in a hotel in the woods. When they drive up to it, it's already dark outside. We see a strangely smiling man in the window, who certainly is not. M, the Murasaki family is welcomed by all the staff. As soon as Madoka saw that there were hot springs here, she immediately shone. A little later, the main character came out to them. She plunges into the water, thinking that it is unlikely that M will show up here. This place is far, and may have a range of Bilocation. There is some limitation. Sunny touches something on the bottom. The severed head immediately floats to the surface, followed by other parts of the body. M is here. Madoka immediately runs to check on her parents. In the lobby, she sees the manager sitting there, who met them, and runs up with a request to call the police. But the dead man just drops his face on the floor. In a panic, The main character runs to the staff room, but the entire staff is beheaded. The phone line was cut, and the girl's smartphone was taken away. It's not that easy to call the police. The search for parents leads to the kitchen, but even there is only the corpse of the cook. From behind whose face a bunch of knives sticks out. Taking one of the unused ones, Madoka decides to find the killer herself, promising that this time she will not hesitate. But along the way, she meets Noriko. She also came here with her family. The girl asks why this main character is running around with a knife, and she says, "I'm here." Noriko says she's scared. Madoka hugs her. The younger parents themselves are still in town, so you don't have to worry about them. Noriko has a mobile phone, but it is out of the access zone. Wi-Fi doesn't work either. The heroine realizes that they are stuck in this hotel. Noriko immediately shows us a strange smile. Continuing to move through the hotel, Madoka thinks only that she needs to get Noriko out of here. The second one allows you to pull yourself by the hand, showing a bored expression on your face. At the same time, other members of the psychiatric group came to Yuri. No one knows where Noriko is. But that's not all. There is another small topic for conversation. Noriko was not present at the time of the incident in Ikebukuro. And then, the author returns us to the hotel in the forest. Madoka continues to run, pulling Noriko with her. The girl from behind looks at each corpse with interest. Madoka pulls her arm, telling her not to look. The second one justifies that after everything she saw earlier, the sight of dead bodies no longer scares her. On the run, Noriko asks the main character how she thinks M appeared here, if the killer is still in custody. She allegedly believes this is the work of an accomplice. Given this, Madoka concludes that Yuta either did not believe her letter, or decided not to tell the band members both locations. Meanwhile, the girls reach the exit of the building, finding themselves on the street. There's no one there but them. Madoka tells her friend to run away on the highway. She can't leave on her own. Noriko declares that then she also stays to fight. In the room of the cabin, the participants of the psychotherapy group watch a video from the first attack in Ikebukuro. In one way or another, everyone got into the frame, except Noriko herself. The main one in the group is still doubtful, because she could just not get into the frame. Then they also show him a fan site dedicated to M. Yuta knows about the site, he has already seen it. But that's what the site owner Noriko discovered for him. And we return to the overlock, well, that is, to the hotel in the forest. A mysterious girl hugs the main character, saying that she can't run alone. Then suddenly, a still living person from the hotel staff appears from behind. Holding his head, he drops to his knees. Madoka asks if he's okay. Then, opening his eyes, the man begins to scream. From behind, the main character Noriko runs her hand along her neck, smiling and sticking out her tongue. Meanwhile, in the room of the aforementioned Yuta refuses to believe the statement. Noriko just didn't get into the frame, but she's a victim, just like everyone else. Another member of the group asks to look at something on the articles on the website. It describes all the participants and what happened in therapy. People from the outside cannot know about this. At the hotel, a man from the staff ran screaming away. Noriko turns around and walks back into the room with words that people panic when they are scared. There are probably still survivors inside, so it's worth going back and looking for them. The frightened man, who ran away in search of salvation, wandered into the thicket of the forest, thinking that he had gone far enough from Noriko. Then a second white-nosed mink appears in front of him, dressed in overalls. The second variation of the girl, the one who is in the hotel, suddenly blushed. Madoka notices this and asks if the strange friend is all right. In response, he hears only that the second one is just tired. Noriko suggests looking for survivors in the box. The main character begins to think about why this girl is not scared at all. We're back in Yuta's room. He suddenly remembers that Noriko was always cheerful. In the group, who was cheerful, he admired, and after all, the girl is studying in junior school, and she was already able to overcome or hide her fear. There is also something to tell about this. Noriko doesn't go to junior high. After checking her with the insurance company, the others manage to find out that the girl only looks young. But in fact, she is a 28-year-old woman. But that's not all. According to another page on the website, today a gathering of fans of M. is taking place in a hotel in the forest, on the territory of Garafuji. There, fanatics are going to sacrifice visitors to a street killer. It is likely that Noriko is the accomplice of the maniac. Yuta immediately recalls the letter. And we're back at the hotel. There, Noriko has just found another survivor who hid in a box. Seeing her face, the blonde starts to scream, and she pulls her power from the locker, taking the hair. The victim calls for help, and Madoka realizes that her friend scares her. Escaping, the blonde runs away. Alleged accomplice M offers to go look for more survivors. Then Madoka's right to express their guess. The blonde ran away from Noriko. This is the second person who reacts to it like this. The main character directly asks her friend who she is. The focus shifts a little. The blonde. Running away, she hid. Trying to calm herself down, she says out loud that she had to participate in some festival dedicated to M. She didn't like it initially, but she was silent because of her boyfriend, who was interested in it. But suddenly, this 28-year-old girl appeared and killed everyone. Her copy just found a blonde. Madoka repeats, asking who Noriko is. She answers, Morph. And then a version in overalls appears. In unison they say, we're a morph. Madoka realizes that Noriko has planned everything in advance. She says she tried to become one of the members of psychotherapy. But she's not like that. She's not the kind of person who sits and waits for him to appear. The morph girl claims that it was the main character who was waiting for the maniac. It's almost like a declaration of love, and Noriko is jealous of that. Repeating that this is unforgivable, the two Norikos rush forward. Madoka gets scared and steps back, but then she bumps into someone with her back into another representative of the fanatics M. She is beaten on the head, and the girl loses consciousness. When Madoka opens her eyes, she finds herself tied up in the company of mostly guys in a bowling alley. Fanatics' admiration for the legendary girl borders on harassment. Noriko joins the conversation, saying that the morph is known as a god. The morph will change the world, becoming the key to his salvation, so they will do everything necessary to summon him here. Someone throws a ball on the track, knocking out a strike. Except it's not a ball, but the head of Madoka's mother. Noriko begins to demand that the main character summon the morph here as soon as possible. The heroine claims that she is not capable of such a thing. She won't be able to summon someone here just at will. Noriko explains that M, a morph, a street killer, can appear in the field of view of the right person. That's how it appears in different places. Showing bliss on her face, Noriko says that she will hone her abilities, and they will become gods together with them. Madoka thinks she understands that loneliness is at the heart of the killer's power. He doesn't want to be a god. He wants to be killed. The same person as the others. With the last thought, you don't understand anything. Under the waiting crowd, Madoka calls his stand. The people rejoice, but not more than a second. The morph immediately began to shred them. Offended and destitute, not understanding why suddenly their idol, a maniac, began to kill them. People who are seen for the first time have decided that he is a monster, and we need to run away from here. Meanwhile, elsewhere in the night, a car is driving to the hotel. Utah and the other members of the therapy group are there. On the road, the main one thinks whether they can defeat the maniac. He hasn't said anything about the letter from Madoka yet. But if you believe the content, M, a real monster. Suddenly, the guy with glasses who is driving asks, do you know anything about a morph? Seeing Yuta's surprise at the word morph, and the unaccustomed M, he explains that Noriko told him. They say, M is not from the word maniac, but from the word morph, since one of the meanings in Google Translator is mutation. I chose this word. The mutant value scares Utah. In the form of his face, everyone asks what he knows. But the guy will tell you later. The driver quite declares, and here is the cavalry. Dozens of bikers appear around the car. Garafuji is bespectacled, so the boys gladly responded to his call. The bespectacled driver is a former Yankee. Yankee is a kind of common gopnik. Thanks to the translators. Meanwhile, in the bowling alley of the Hotel M staged a massacre. Madoka notices that the killer is not holding back. Fools his followers that morph revered as god. Still not dead morons, sorry, but otherwise, no, I can't call them. They cry out that they are not promised. M had to destroy this vicious world and transfer the remnants into the hands of these very people. Madoka does not feel sorry for such people at all. And now her disgust materializes another morph. Watching everything that happens, Noriko comes to the conclusion that the main character not only calls the killer, but is also able to control him. The morph belongs only to Noriko, so she flies to Madoka with the same words. At first, she dodges every lunge, but when cornered, she is protected from the blow by the morph itself. Noriko asks why. M answers, because if anyone kills Madoka, it will be me. Noriko doesn't understand why she can't kill the main character. The morph replies that Madoka is his and only his. No one will touch the girl with a finger. Then he looks down and says, to the girl, it's in the face. You're mine. Seeing this, a psychopath with a bilocation begins to get angry. Are you going to look at each other like lovebirds, she asks. Why Madoka of all people? Noriko creates 2 more copies of herself, which simultaneously with the original, are thrown at the main character, but do not fall. Morph picked up the girl. They look at each other again. You're showing off, aren't you? Barely holding back tears, Noriko asks and rushes to attack again. I also morphs were the same. She finally found a real friend when he first saw it on TV, since M can appear only in front of certain people, apparently. To those who have already seen the original, she signed up for a therapy group. But when the maniac came, his gaze was focused only on Madoka. M kicked the girl in the face. All 3 copies of it flew away. Having risen to the bleeding nose, the 28-year-old psychopath begins to cry. Madoka herself is shocked. Her ex-girlfriend is really jealous of her. She must be very upset and hates the main character. The beginnings of a sudden sympathy immediately disappear when, along with the mother's head, the girl also sees the father's head. To summon M, Noriko killed both mom and dad. They were not to blame for anything, but Noriko sacrificed them for selfish purposes. This angers Madoka. The street killer cuts the ropes on her hands and then offers her to take a weapon. Take it, he says. Take her and kill her. He puts the girl's weapon in her hand, repeating, kill her, slay those who killed your parents. But instead, Madoka wounds the shoulder of the morph himself, saying, it's not for you to tell me what to do. You're using Noriko, the main character continues. She's just a tool. Do you want me to become a murderer? To this statement, Maniac smiling a smart girl, and then hits the character on the head with the butt of the weapon. When Madoka fell, Noriko attacked from behind. When he was distracted by the first one, the second one immediately attacked from the other side. A third one flew from above. Turning around, M cuts off Noriko's 2 hands at once with a sharp movement. After her, the rest of the copies lost these limbs. A street killer is going to finish off a psychopath, but suddenly Madoka shouts, do not do this. M's not going to stop. But when the machete is lowered, Noriko is no longer in that place. Taking advantage of the bilocation, all of her copies escaped. The girl materialized in the forest. The morph came after her. Due to the fact that the girl saw him with her own eyes, the maniac can now appear right in front of her. Running away, Noriko enjoys this realization. And so, that in principle it now pursues. At this time, his eyes not looking at Madoka, and confined only to her. But not for long. 2 psychopaths run out onto the road right in front of the bikers and the Utah group. The morph immediately flew into the air from the impact of the car. Madoka also saw one of his copies fly into the hotel. Seeing him, she realizes that one of the copies has received very serious injuries somewhere. Having stopped, the Yankees decided to have fun with an unconscious maniac. Utah asks one of the girls to Google what else the word morph can mean, and they found something. While the others are messing with the unconscious M, the bespectacled Yankees are trying to stop them. A katana blade appears from behind. Another biker bandit arrived to personally finish off the maniac. The enviable groom says he would be honored to do this. It's time to end the street killer. They put him on the asphalt, and the fat one swings his sword. Utah and a friend discuss that some tadpoles reproduce through polymorphism and cannibalism. Devouring each other, they mutate into something completely different. Seeing the article, the guy puts it together with the meaning of Madoka's letter. Cannibalism and polymorphism interchangeable. Now he finally believes in bilocation. The following events served as proof. The sword flies towards M, but suddenly it disappears. Instead, Katana cuts off the hands holding the Yankee killer. Everyone immediately starts searching. In the group, seeing Yuta's reaction, he begins to ask what he knows. Jiren tells everything about the fact that there are no accomplices, about the bilocation, and about the motives of M. Tolstoy listens to their conversation, comes closer and sticks a katana in Yuta's back. Then he points the gun at his former comrade, asking where to look for M. at the hotel. Madoka raised a machete over the head of a street maniac. But for some reason, everything can't hit him. Then she sees a crowd of bikers approaching. The Yankees can't be stopped anymore. Now the hotel will be in chaos. Going inside, they see bodies scattered here and there. While they are looking for a maniac, Madoka drags him down the corridor. She thinks this man is a monster. Everyone she loved is dead by his fault. But she wouldn't let some motorcycle gang kill him. He won't get off that easy. The Yankees are coming. The main character escaped from them with a maniac, climbing into the water under the bridge at the hotel. Looking for a way out, she sees the sewers. That's the way out. Meanwhile, M himself regained consciousness, continuing to create the appearance of the opposite. We are transported to the city. There, the police and doctors are taking M to an emergency operation. He's been locked up in the isolation ward all this time, so why the hell did he suddenly get such serious injuries? Honda hears, and someone says that the street killer seems to have been suddenly thrown. He has fractures and ruptures of internal organs. The young officer realizes that he received the damage elsewhere. M was put on the operating table, but the operation was not started. The morph's body began to heal itself. And on the territory of Fuji, Madoka successfully pulled the maniac out of the hotel. She notices that he is conscious. Noriko is watching all this from the sidelines. It still pisses her off that they look at each other like that. But what can she do with such and such hands? Looking closer, the psychopath sees that the wounds have closed and fingers have already begun to grow from there. Although now they are small and rather childish. Elsewhere, doctors and police are discussing what happened. When the street killer was brought in, he was in critical condition, but now he is almost healthy. The doctor says that you can't apply such frames with your hands. It was as if he had been hit by a car or a train. They have no explanation for what is happening. Noriko is happy that her fingers are growing back. That way she can survive. But M appears in front of her. The psychopath is happy at first, but then gets kicked in the face. Madoka asks him to stop, saying that deep down, he himself understands that he does not like it. He confessed his sins to her because he really feels very lonely. When she says, "And if you want me," they are interrupted by the unexpected appearance of a biker. Heroes run away, the bandits immediately followed them. Along the way, Madoka thinks about why she is running away from the Yankees, and why she is doing it together with them. Morph stops. Bandits also came out from the opposite side. Along with them is a giant with a katana. Coming forward, the street killer closes the main character. There are too many bikers, and it's unlikely even M will be able to do anything. And soon, there will be even more of them. Remembering the article he read, Yuta thinks that there are too many people not to appear yet. Most likely, it will not end so easily. Meanwhile, everyone, including Madoka, opened their mouths wide in surprise. Copies of the maniac really became many times more. M throws himself at the Yankees. The other side of the conflict is not afraid of the killer because he does not even have a weapon. However, the morph does not need this. In flight over the fat man's head, he sticks his fingers into his ears. Other copies in exactly the same flight wring the necks of the others. In general, maniacs successfully cope with bandits. The main character closes her eyes and ears in her thoughts, asking someone to finish it. Suddenly she opens them, seeing a Honda in front of her. Madoka suddenly found herself in the hospital. The officer asked how she got here. The girl also does not understand because she has just been in the forest, but then she realizes that she used bilocation. It happened by itself because she really wanted M to finally die. Watching the guarded entrance from around the corner, Honda tells how a street killer was suddenly crippled and suddenly healed. He looks less and less like a man. And also, Honda thinks, looking at Madoka, "You've become a monster too." The girl is standing next to him, clutching a police revolver in her hands. It was now or never that she had to end this. Madoka appears in the ward, pointing a weapon at M. The morph was already ready, throwing up his hands. "You finally came." Happily welcomes her killer. The main character makes 3 shots. "You did it," says M. "It's okay. I'm finally ready to admit that you're not an illusion." The morph is dying. Because of the sounds of shooting outside the door, the approach of the police can be heard. Looking at the body, Madoka begins to shed tears. She falls to her knees, instantly ending up on the roof of the hospital, and starts screaming. The end of our new favorite rom-com. Well, as for me, this is the strangest doujinshi on Dasha the Traveler that I have ever read. But seriously, what I expected from Masai, I got. A good idea of a bloody story, with hints of a detective story that turns into trash and ends quickly. Although at the same time, I will note to everyone that this story seems to be more even than what the author usually comes up with. In any case, the work is definitely better than the Island of Giblets. The drawing is also better, but it's like with Pumpkin Night. It's all good that Masaya comes up with, but delegates drawing to others. Although again, it is clear that in some places photos were taken instead of the background, on which filters were already applied, and on top of which they were drawn. But even so, it looks much better than in the Island of Giblets. Even Madoka, though a classic character with a slight touch of Stockholm Syndrome, nevertheless seemed interesting to me. But what other character, knowing that a maniac can materialize in his room at any moment, and not yet knowing that this maniac does not want to kill him, will deprive himself of sight for a whole day to test pepper spray? Although the behavior is entirely worthy of an M. Well, like, you want to be killed, but every time you catch the blade, and then you ask to finish it off. Yes, it could be attributed to the instinct of self-preservation, but damn, for some reason, I very little believe it. The ending of the story, as for me, is also great. Madoka's abilities appear without any unnecessary explanations. She gets into the room and kills the maniac. The story is over. She leaves with questions, for example, what will happen next with Noriko, and with Madoka herself, but the final is not open. And thanks a lot for that. Although at the same time, when I opened the comments under the pages on Mangalib, I saw that people thought the ending was too blurry or just didn't like it. Someone expected that there would be a romantic. Someone was missing a couple more chapters or volumes. Still others did not understand at all how M was killed when he was recovering. In short, the ending is quite in the spirit of the author. At the same time, almost all the time. In any case, up to the hotel, the story to some extent retains the intrigue. It remains to seem unusual thanks to Bilocation and manages to amuse. From the mask, especially in the distant plans, I laughed all the time, as well as from some other moments. It was scary once, but in general I was satisfied with the manga. Thank you very much, Masaya, for not letting me down this time. Write in the comments how you like the murderous metamorphoses, and also would you like to see more of Masaya's work on this channel. It will be very interesting to find out, because I personally have already become attached to the senseless and fun thrash mangak. And that's it for today. Thank you very much for your attention. Love you all and bye.